Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. And today we've got another video about 16-inch powder bags with some brand new artifacts to show off that we're super excited to have. So we've done a video not that long ago about this powder bag right here, which is an original 1980s manufactured like nylon powder bag that was made in the 1980s. And it's got all of its original markings on it. This one was unloaded probably sometime around 2012, and then the bag itself was salvaged. Well, this isn't the type of material or the size of the original manufactured powder bags that the guns would have fired. Those would have been made out of raw silk. But thanks to a surprise donation by one of the ship's Vietnam War-era gunner's mates, Andy Tobias, who served in Turret 3, we have some cutouts of the stenciling from real powder bags that were on board Battleship New Jersey in 1968 and 1969 when he served on board off the coast of Vietnam. These were tags that were in the cans with the powder bag, so it seems to have pretty much the same stenciling on it, the same sort of stenciling that is on the bag itself. So I don't know if this implies that the bags were not stenciled and there was just a tag in those aluminum powder cans, or if the tag duplicated what was on those cans and rather than having to open it up and pull a whole bag out, you could just grab the tag. Anyway, these were left over after the cans were emptied, and Andy was able to grab a couple, which is a really neat distribution of some of the powder that was on board the ship at that time. He said specifically that while they were doing gunfire support off Vietnam, they shot up the 1940s manufactured powder first, then the 50s manufactured stuff, then some of the stuff that had been messed with in the 60s. And so we've got a couple here. They have dates stamped on them. This one says assembled October 1953. This one assembled July 1953. And these are cool because they've got two separate types. This one says weight of charge 663 pounds, number sections per charge 6, weight of flashless pellet or lead foil none, and then initial velocity IV is probably 2890 for 1900 pound projectile, 2500 for 2700 pound projectile, so that's a full charge. The second tag is for a 16-inch 50 reduced charge, so a lot of the same information, number of sections per charge 6, weight of flashless pellet or lead foil none, initial velocity 1800 feet per second for 2700 pound projectile, or 2075 for a 1900 pound projectile. So it is a reduced charge, significantly less powder. There are additional stamps on here, which are not very legible anymore. We'll have some pictures of those. But one of the stamps is covering the weight of this reduced charge bag. I believe it says 337, but I might be off by that. So it's roughly a half charge, which means you're getting less initial velocity, which means that the projectile is going to travel less far. It means it will have a higher ballistic arc. Initial velocity is one of the things that you plug into the computer, so you can use this beyond training and plug into the computer and get accurate firing solutions. Our third one here is loaded in June of 1968, so it's a newer one. It's much more legible. It doesn't have a stamp covering it. This one is also reduced charge. This one says the weight of the charge is 324 pounds. Gives us the same feet per second for initial velocity for both of them. Now, there are two things that I find extremely interesting about these tags. One, I believe this is the raw silk that is the older style of bag material. It does seem to be made out of powder bag casing, so now we can actually feel what that felt like. We've got some of the nylon bag material and some of the silk bag material on board the ship. We're going to have to get these on display sometime in the near future now that we've got both sets. So it's really cool getting able to handle raw silk. Just hearing those words as a non-fabrics person, a non-textile person, it's like, okay, what does that, does it mean it's like woolly? Does it, no, it's got a pretty like cottony grain pattern there. Silk, of course, is preferred, even though it's a more expensive material, because it burns up entirely when the gun is fired. The other really cool thing that we get from here is that the types of powder in these three are completely different. So this one is SPD 1033-5. SPD is what's important, we're going to come back to. This one is SPDN 9717. And this one is SPCG 9897. So that is the formulation of the propellant that is in this bag. And they're three different formulations, and they're all being used simultaneously. I always thought that, okay, when SPD is superseded by SPDN, then they stop using SPD because it is less stabilized. No, they're using all of these simultaneously. In fact, these two bags, we've got one assembled in October of '53 and one assembled in July of '53. In fact, the one that's got the quote-unquote newer, more stable material in it was assembled a few months prior to the one that has the old SPD in it. So now it makes me wonder, are all of the full charges SPD and the reduced charges are something else? Sometimes new artifacts answer questions, and sometimes they give you more questions to research, and this seems to do both. So SPD is just smokeless powder. It's a formulation that the U.S. Navy has been using since basically the entire Dreadnought era. About 1908 we start using it. SPDN comes out a little bit later, and that adds an extra part to it. The N stands for non-hygroscopic, which is, it will absorb moisture less readily, so it will deteriorate less. It'll be more shelf stable, even in slightly different humidity levels. Obviously, if you immerse it in water, it's still going to absorb that and be rendered useless. And of course, the newest formulation of this propellant is the SPCG, which is smokeless powder with carbamide and nitroguanidine, which again, they're just new chemical formulations that are put in there to make this more shelf stable. Especially by this time period, it seems like we're keeping these old 16-inch powder bags sitting around for long periods of time. And bringing these out to fire on New Jersey are going to show, hey, the initial velocity for a brand new gun when this powder is new is supposed to be 1,800 feet per second for a 2,700-pound projectile. Are we actually seeing that when we fire the guns? So they do, starting in Vietnam, have a radar on top of the turret to measure initial velocity. The powder's been sitting on shelves for so long that it has deteriorated somewhat. You'll often get a variation of up to about 10 feet per second per decade. So about 1 foot per second per year on average degrades off of this powder as it sits on a shelf. Not a big deal if you're making this powder in 1943 and firing it in 1945. A much bigger deal if you made this powder in 1941 and you're firing it in the Gulf in 1991. So, being able to measure that is important. Knowing what it's supposed to be is important. And these tags give a lot of information to the guys down in the magazines who are pulling this powder out, and to the gunnery officer who's calling for specific things for specific shots. We're really excited to have these back on board the ship after 56 years. And now we've got examples of markings for powder bags from multiple different time periods. So this, again, it definitely increases our research of the ship, what we know about the ship. It also gives us more questions to research in the future. So, obviously we haven't managed to get any of these out on display yet. We'll need some sort of case or something like that to put them in. Where would you like to see these on display? Do you want to see them in a main deck exhibit space? It makes them more accessible to folks who can't go down ladders. Do you want to see them somewhere in the turret or the magazine where they're supposed to be? Those spaces are more accurate, but they're less climate controlled, which might lead to these deteriorating more over time. Let us know in the comment section down below what you think would be an appropriate way to display these. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate your support. There's a link in the description below if you'd like to donate to support the museum. You can also support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.